Hello, everyone. It's Trevor Cormier again, along with Analyzing Male Slavery. And this is a narrative we cannot destroy. It just, no matter how much we struggle. This young reviewer, Rev says Des, is talking about censorship in anime, even though it's not censorship, it's alteration
Yeah.
of dialogue. That's what it
Let-
is.
let- Yes. Also, anyway, I'm trying to check. I'm trying to take a break from men's issues. I'm not watching MRA related videos. I'm just watching gaming and anime stuff. And I'm subbed to this channel, and I came across this, right? And I thought, I don't really want to watch this because I know what it'll be about,
Yes.
right? But then I said, no, let's just watch it and see what he has to say.
Okay.
And it does sort of bring up a serious issue, but he frames it in the wrong way. And he frames it, quite frankly, he frames it in a cowardly way. I can't chalk this up to ignorance, unfortunately.
Yes. And the thing is, if we're going to look in the comment section too, because the comment section, everybody's involved. See, they talk about censorship. They don't talk about the feminist alteration of it.
Yes. Look. Also, if the KKK were dubbing animes and putting in racist jabs against black people and the Jews, you wouldn't call this censorship. You wouldn't passively go, "Oh, don't censor." You'll go, "No, you're promoting hate speech. You're attacking these groups, and you're using this to do so."
Yes.
And this is what the feminists are doing.
This is propaganda, not censorship.
Shall we watch this so people understand what we're talking about?
Yes. Let's see. This is Kobayashi's Maid Dragon. I've seen this before. Everyone see
maximize the screen so they can read the subs.
Exactly.
Yes, sorry.
Let me put it back again too. It's such a pain in the ass because it takes a while for it to get back up. So anyway, come on.
Anyway, if you're watching this, check the subs out. The subs do not match what dub is.
Yes, exactly. Now it says everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure because this character has this rocking body, and she usually shows her body off, and so she was going basically to this parent-teacher thing, and they're saying stop being so risque. So this is what it was saying here.
Yes.
You should change your body next, she was saying. Now this is the what they changed it to.
Oh, those pesky patriarchal demands were getting on my nerves. So I changed clothes. Give it a week, they'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, there you go. So now they put in the feminist propaganda of patriarchy.
Patriarchal demands. Okay, and also this is not an innocent translation. This is completely misframing it. Okay, patriarchal. Right, she's being risque, and she's exposing herself, and she's been asked to tone it down. Right, that's not patriarchal demands. Right, doesn't make sense. Patriarchal demands would be, oh, they're staring at my body and demanding my body off me. Right, even in a feminist framing, in a feminist context, the translation doesn't make any sense, even by their own terms. So therefore, they're injecting their own narrative willy-nilly just for the sake of it.
Exactly. And this is not censorship. This is alteration. This is propaganda insertion.
Yes.
And these guys, they're not willing to admit that.
Yes. So let's give an example. There was an anime dub, right?
Yeah.
Let's say there was an action anime dub and there's a police officer, and in the original Japanese one, he's like, oh, I'm rounding up some thugs, right? And I've just arrested them, right? Okay. And in the dub, this is, oh, I've rounded up these N words. Like, can you imagine they changed it to that? There'd be an outrage.
Yeah.
Because that'd be like, oh, you're interjecting a racist narrative. These people are interjecting a feminist narrative, which is gender hate against men, which is equivalent of racism, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, completely equivalent. People don't like us saying so because they want to try and downplay it.
Yes.
Let's see what else he has to say.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rev here, As you can see, corporate control and influence over content can have a pretty serious impact.
See, now he's blaming corporations. Like, I mean,
Yes.
what is he suggesting that corporations are feminists? Well, they are. There's feminists.
Yes. Look, it's corporations controlled by feminists. So
Yes.
The analogies here, it's like saying if you get run over by a car on purpose, it's like blaming the car but not the person driving it. A corporation is just an entity, right? It's controlled by people and they make the decisions.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Because the suggestion would be that if it wasn't a corporation, that things would be different. It won't be different, you know.
No. The corporations wanted to stop the feminist infiltration, they could, but they don't want to.
Yes.
So
let's see.
So today, we have to address a serious threat to anime and the means in which we consume it. In theory, the packaging and later streaming of anime series for viewers seems like a very basic concept. However, there is one major thing that threatens this process and risks altering the experience for those who are watching it. And that thing is censorship. And censorship in many more ways than you may initially think. Now, the most readily identifiable examples of censorship are the traditional ones you see with all types of media.
Yeah, okay.
And that's censoring of work.
Yes, it's halted.
okay, localization of video games and anime has been going on for years, right? Okay, and in a lot of ways, we're sort of regressing with the feminist takeover of anime companies in the West, but actually things have been a lot better than they used to be. In the 80s and 90s, it was a lot worse. They used to, even if it wasn't done for political reasons, they just used to change stuff all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Exactly.
For example, this is a funny example. You know, Final Fight, the video game made by
No,
a Japanese
but
company.
You can say.
But anyway, there's female characters that you can beat up. She's called Poison.
Yeah.
Right, and she's very sexy. But in the West, they changed her to a transsexual. The reason why they changed her to a transsexual is because violence against women was seen as unacceptable. So, oh no, she's not really a woman; she's a transsexual. So then, therefore, it was acceptable, right?
Yeah.
And actually, Poison's actually a very popular character in a certain subculture now because she's like a hero to people like transsexuals in animes, right? There's lots of stories about her in hentais, but anyway, that's just one example of Japanese companies having this stuff localized. There's loads of examples, like alcohol being removed, references to alcohol being removed in animes.
Yes.
Basically, they changed it to fruit juice or something like that. So this has been going on for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Words, violent scenes, or censoring sexual or other adult content. But there's also an interesting and increasingly popular form of censorship that is no stranger to Western anime streaming services.
Look here, the reference is dialogue to reference of misogyny. So of course, this is a feminist narrative. So like you say, this is brand new in a way that the other stuff wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Funimation is an atrocious company. They've interspecies reviewers they banned, didn't they? Completely.
Exactly.
So that was a feminist decision, full stop. There was a demand for it. There was actually no protest against it, but they just wanted to remove it because it was about prostitution.
Yes. It degrades the the goddess sex.
Yeah, so they allow animes of like females getting raped and tortured and kidnapped, right? Because it actually demonizes men. So at the end of the day, it's not the degradation of women that they object to. They just don't like low status men paying for sex with beautiful women. That's what offends them, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's censorship through the changing of dialogue or translations, whether it's through the subtitles or English dubs, to alter the original.
No, he's using. It's not censoring something. It's instilling feminist propaganda, because what they're changing, there's nothing wrong with it that they're censoring. Like he's trying to say the common words that Kobayashi spoke was akin to showing a panty shot, and it's not. They're not worried about blocking that.
Original message of the Japanese content. In the realm of anime, we have seen companies alter scenes in order to change the entire stream of dialogue, or even insert political messages into scenes where they were originally not intended. This type of censorship.
Just in other words, political, he just means.
Sorry, Austin. All right.
Political in this case, it's feminist ideology, but they won't. He never says it. He just says,
sorry, I want to make a point as well. Localization has always been going on. There will change, for example, there will change jokes, right? Especially in dubs, because subs are for the hardcore who want the original experience. Dubs is for the mainstream,
yes.
right? They'll change a lot of jokes in the dubs because people won't get the context or understand it at all. So they change it a lot of the time. That's been going on for years as well. And I actually don't necessarily disapprove of that. Okay, some obscure Japanese joke or reference, right? Maybe it's better off being changed for the mass market appeal. I don't object to that actually, because if people really want the authentic experience, there's always the sub version.
Yes.
Anyway.
Because that's true, because I have watched animes where they actually kept the Japanese joke, and I was scratching my head. Supposedly funny, but like I'm not in on the joke as Western.
Yeah, like for example, sneezing. I was confused by that reference for a long time, right? But when they say in Japan, they say if you sneeze, right, that means someone's talking bad about you behind your back.
Exactly.
Right? And you see that, like, or the nosebleed thing for arousal. That was weird to me. Like, what? Yes.
Or the teardrop in the back of the head. That took me a while to realize what it was.
Yes.
In my opinion, is the most devious and quite frankly obnoxious form to exist. A lot of the times leaving viewers in the dark about what the original intent of the scene was in the first place. I mean, why would they...
I also don't like the word obnoxious. It's not obnoxious. It's attacking you, period. It's attacking your esteem.
Yes, and it's not about obscuring the original meaning, right? It's about inserting your own meaning into it. Yes.
Wouldn't the streaming service or dub service just relay the intended message? That's probably what most people would think. So why would they question what they are consuming and not just assume it's the way the Japanese studio intended? And why am I bringing all this up, you ask? Because there's some potentially very big news for anyone still trying to legally stream anime through traditional sources. It has been recently announced that Sony is in talks with AT&T to acquire Crunchyroll, a deal that could cost over $900 million. And if we can pause for a second and just take that all in. Exactly. I know Sony and AT&T are massive corporations.
This is the red herring.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, it's a red herring. Sorry, I want to point something out. Anime is big now. That's a big deal. That's nearly $1 billion. And it's still not completely mainstream, but it's not niche as it was. And this is why the females are taking over. Because this is a female feminist infiltration of these streaming companies. Funimation and Crunchyroll are both big time now, right? So all these corporate jobs, all the upper management jobs are going to females. They've actually shown this off. That magical, they made this their own cartoon that everyone laughed at, and it showed the writing team. It was all female, all female. It was like a room of 10 of them.
Yeah, it's the same old same. So the women make their way up through just males allow them to, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
They not demote but promote them. And then they just go and start putting in their feminist ideology.
And they promote their feminist friends and female friends and marginalize and exclude men. Look, when this was a niche, small hobby, these feminists weren't interested because there was no status in it.
Exactly. You see it every time. That's why niche things like Dungeons and Dragons became more, feminist indoctrinated too. You see it all the time. Any space that becomes popular enough, then the girls get interested, and then it's over.
Yes.
Corporations, but still, nearly a $1 billion deal to acquire Crunchyroll. This is big news. And according to sources, this deal between Sony and AT&T is potentially nearing its final stages.
And this is the other thing I was going to mention before. This deal, I mean, what does this mean to him? He's trying to suggest that just becoming one big lump, like one big corporation, immediately means that there's going to be this feminist ideology. It has nothing.
But he's not even saying that though. That's the problem. He's just saying, corporations, censorship. He's actually, in this video, he doesn't mention feminists once. So he's not even pointing to the real problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As I stated earlier, this is a very impactful deal between these companies for several reasons. First, this is another step in Sony's attempt to unify its multimedia productions with its video game publishing, anime publishing, and in film publishing.
Okay, it's paused.
You know, I wouldn't mind if a corporation became big and bought up Crunchyroll and Funimation and gained control of the entire anime industry, the streaming services in the West, but they were anti-feminist. They were overtly anti-feminist, they were proud of it, and they were inserting their own anti-feminist narrative into animes. You know, like I'd love to have animes that said "fuck feminism." You know,
Yeah.
that'd be brilliant. I'd love that. I would love it. You know, you could hire me for that job in that corporation. I'll do the fucking dubs.
Oh yeah.
So if any anti-feminist corporation takes over the dubbing industry, hire me, right? I can ad-lib my own stuff.
Multimedia franchise.
What's that?
I said I can ad-lib my own stuff for you.
Franchise in-house between itself and its subsidiaries. Now let me tell you, a massive corporation getting widespreading control over many different multimedia franchises is a recipe for disaster. Not for the shareholders racking in huge money, but for the consumers expecting a product untouched by corporate influences. And all this ties into the next level of
Now
consumer.
he's talking to corporate influences, right?
Yes. So corporate influences everything. I'm sorry, this is how the mainstream media works. Most mainstream entertainment is bland, right? It is. Most animes are bland, inoffensive,
Yes.
right? Okay, like for example, how many movies are like anti-war and talk about how corporate interests in government and all that? How many movies talk about that stuff? They don't, right? It's always been like that. There's multiple channels that, right? TV channels. They're all bland and sanitized and mainstream. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's talking about a problem that's been there anyway for a long time.
Of course. That's why one of the reasons why it became so big in the first place, anime that is that when it first started out and it was just niche, you
Yes.
did see anime that were anti-war. You did
Yes.
see it. You saw all kinds of them, and that's why it became big. And actually, that's why anime will become second rate eventually, because
It's second rate now with the mo trash, in my opinion. It's like this guy, Rest Says Death, is an example of that. He's a gynocentrist who uses female avatars all the time. He's a female worshipper. I don't dislike the guy, but that's who he is. Okay, and I'm sorry, female centrism. If you take it too far, look, I don't mind appreciating the female form, right? And there's some female creators that I admire. The woman who did Full Metal Alchemist, right? But if you become too female centric, you become too obsessed with it. You can't compartmentalize. It pollutes the quality of the art. And anime is just mo trash. I'm sorry. Like any good idea gets turned to the typical harem anime.
Yes.
And like, I don't even object to romantic story. Like, I'm going to digress a bit here. Like, for example, Tenchi Muyo, right? I don't object to a romantic story or male and female interactions, right? Tenchi Muyo, the first character introduced was actually interesting, the female space pirate with the green hair and pointy ears, who looked like an elf. She was actually an interesting character, and they should have developed the relationship between Tenchi and her. But instead, they kept introducing new female characters, new ones, and there was no development of it. It was just stale and boring, even when it first came out, as far as I'm concerned. It was just bland, boring wish fulfillment.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like I can enjoy harem anime the same way I can enjoy ice cream, but you don't want to make a meal out of it. You don't want that to be your standard meal.
Yes,
and that's what it's becoming.
Yes.
That I addressed earlier, censorship. And as a preliminary matter, Sony itself is quite familiar with censoring its products, especially its media coming from Japan. See, Sony has a long history of censoring many anime-related games. There are many examples, but I'll focus on one from earlier this year. Devil May Cry 5 had a short scene where the game showed, prepare yourselves, a scene displaying the butt of a female character. I know, very shocking material for a game rated M for mature. The Japanese version remained untouched, but the version released to the West by Sony...
It's paused.
Okay, I'll tell you why this happened, right? Some high-up female, the feminist, she saw this and says, no, this can't pass. Take that out. And she won't even, she'll say, oh, it's objectification, it degrades women.
Just
but
a
the real
minute.
motive in the back of...
So what were you saying?
So anyway, the reason why this got banned from Devil May Cry, because there was some high-up female in the corporation who's a feminist, and she probably told these people, decision makers, oh, this is objectification, this is a degradation of women, right? But the real motive in the back of her head was, men are seeing this ass, these men are enjoying themselves, we can't have that.
Yes, that's what it is. And that's
Yes.
what this guy has to understand.
Yes.
This guy, he's all these guys in the comment section too. They're what's going on is that they just don't like male pleasure. And so they're
Yes.
being attacked for that reason.
Yes.
So that's what any censorship is about in this case.
Yes.
Sony censored out this very scandalous scene. Now keep in mind, you have to be 17 plus to buy this game in the first place. So what's the big deal? Well, Sony had an official statement about that. According to them, the children who are not even supposed to be using the game, rated M for mature, should be protected from the content within the game. By that same logic, you'd have to do the same thing with cursing and violence. So stupid. And I know this is...
No, it's not stupid. It makes perfect sense under what they're trying to achieve. The children
Yes.
are being used as a leverage to stop
Yes.
grown men from enjoying themselves. That's it.
Pretext. Using children as hostages in
Yes.
the debate, basically. What about the children? All right, okay. Get rid of your abortion rights. What about the children?
Yes.
No, they wouldn't accept that, would they?
No, exactly.
It's only when they want to take stuff away from men that they bring up the children.
Yes. Shows that people don't care about children too.
Yeah.
This is just one instance, but it's another example of Sony pandering to Western standards of sexuality through censorship and altering its games.
No.
Well, let me remind you,
No.
Sony buying out anime streaming services.
Yeah.
It's not Western standards of sexuality. I'm sorry. All right. For example, a lot of hentais have got weird pixelated dicks Japanese porn have weird pixelated dicks, right? To meet their censorship laws. It's strange. It doesn't make any sense, but that's one of the things they have to do. That's not nothing to do with Japanese sexuality. And there's plenty of stuff in the West that shows arse. There's porn, right? There's lots of sexy mainstream movies showing arse with sex scenes. So it's nothing to do about Western standards of sexuality. So he's blame shifting. It's to satisfy the feminists who work in these corporations.
Exactly.
That's it. That's the main explanation. That's like 95% of it, as far as I'm concerned, if not 100% of it.
Yeah.
I'm being very generous by giving that 5% away.
Yeah, I would say 100%. And
Yeah.
this is what Dash here has to avoid and is avoiding with everything.
Look, he's got 60,000 subscribers, so he has to be mainstream as possible.
Yeah. Luckily for us, Dash, we're not mainstream, so we can just say the truth, sir.
Yes.
This is not a new concept. Sony already gained control of Funimation several years ago. And why is that significant, you ask? Because the behavior of Funimation after being controlled by Sony is certainly noteworthy. And if you want some examples, there are plenty to be found. Funimation inserting political messages into dubs was an issue even before Sony got involved. The first time it got big attention was back in 2015 with its dub version of Prison School. One scene in the dub inserted a reference to Gamergate that was not originally included.
I was asked to run a couple errands, not that it's any of your business.
We can't hear. Let's just hear it first.
Whoa, pump the brakes, Arthur Fonzarelli. Have you got a stick up your ass? Or are you one of those dumbass Gamergate creep shows?
And the decision...
There you go. But
And he blushes, like the shame of it. Oh no, you called me a Gamergate creep show.
yeah. And the irony is that most people, even over here, don't know what Gamergate is. So,
Yes, exactly. It's not a corporate decision. The corporation didn't care about what Gamergate is. The female doing the dubbing knew what Gamergate was because she's a feminist.
yes.
That's just it. That's the simplest explanation. Full stop. I'm sorry. Gamergate was only known by feminists. Gamergate was a really fringe thing. And there were a bunch of female worshippers, but I won't go into that. They weren't really anti-feminists, but they were hated by the feminists. And the feminists even managed to get an episode of Law and Order made attacking Gamergate as well. There's one villain who was part of Gamergate, a terrorist, right? It's not corporations doing this, it's feminists within corporations doing this. You see the difference?
Yes, exactly. And so
A gun doesn't get off the table on its own and shoot you. Someone picks it up, points at you, and willingly pulls the trigger.
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing. They're blaming the cars and the guns. It's basically like if someone runs you over, like you said before.
Hashtag, it was just one line, you nerds. You see that?
Yeah.
And look at this tweet. If you think threats against women in gaming are acceptable, I'm glad my script pissed you off. So there were probably no threats against women. There's probably a barefaced lie about this person.
Yeah.
Okay, by this person, barefaced lie. And look, even these women I work getting threatened over it, I don't care. If a member of the KKK took over an anime dubbing company and started spouting off about black people, I'd say, yeah, you deserve to get death threats, actually. You know, you poked the bear with the stick, you get what's coming to you. And it's like, it's rape threats. You think rape threats for women gaming it's acceptable? No, there's no rape threats. That's an old tactic they use all the time, basically. In fact, there was one feminist ranting on about men wanting to rape her, and I think Saga Card says no one wants to rape you. You're too ugly. That was deemed as a rape threat.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a false narrative. So anyway, I'm glad my script pissed you off. Yeah, because. So therefore, I'll tell lies about my critics, and because of these lies that I invented, you deserve to be pissed off. Hashtag prison school. Hashtag it was just one line, you nerds. So you nerds basically means males.
Yeah.
Basically. So
no penis male. You male nobodies.
These females who infiltrate the nerd communities, they hate the nerds. Yeah. They want to exclude them. Yes, it's horrible.
The decision was not appreciated by Funimation's subscribers, and to make it worse, some of the voice actors doubled down on the decision through social media, causing a PR mess. Eventually, this all led to a...
There you go. Too, like, here are the people who actually they're selling to have actually voiced what their complaints, and they just allowed these people to tell them to fuck off. Yes. So I mean, these guys don't understand. This is not even about money.
Yes.
Public apology from Funimation and Aniplex for the entire issue. And it's sad to say, Gamergate has continued to occasionally rear its ugly, brightly colored hair-covered head, even in 2020. But that's besides the point. So you would think after this controversy, they had learned their lesson. But they did not. Now fast forward to 2017 as Sony takes ownership and control of Funimation, new controversy...
Most of the nerds are still buying his stuff, and they were protesting it outside the corporations. So of course they never learn.
Yeah, of course not.
I'm probably all right. My fictional scenario, right? You know, the anti-feminist corporation hiring me to do their dubbing, me injecting anti-feminist stuff. If that ever happened, I promise you there'd be feminists protesting outside the corporation, right, and causing a stink against it. Okay. Yeah. So
let me just pause for a minute because I want to show you I know we're not through with this, but let me show you some of the comments here. I mean, take a look at this guy. This guy.
Oh shit! It just said you started recording.
What's that?
It just said you started recording.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Did you pause it?
I unpaused
right.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We've got things going. So, I mean, here's these guys. This guy talking about censorship is the death of creativity and variety. Like, these guys are in on it.
Yes.
And they're avoiding all of this. Like, I've even said in here, what you need to do is actually start... oh, wait, this is I have my own one. Here we are, yes. I'm screwing this up. But, you know, one of these ones I said, you've got to actually get out and protest. You know, these guys aren't into it. Like you said, these guys are actually buying the stuff. They get angry, but then they go buy the stuff anyway. And you say, this guy, Gaffanite, censorship, death of creativity and variety. See, he's blaming censorship. He can't say it. I mean, you might think that years would make this better. It's getting worse and worse. I mean, he's right. It is getting worse and worse because these guys don't do anything.
Yes.
All this for children that don't care already, are familiar with the things that showed on screen. This is just beginning, mark my words. He's right in this way that it's beginning and it's getting worse and worse. But the reason why it isn't, like, these guys don't do anything and they can't even admit who's doing it, why it's doing it.
Yes. You know? Yes.
So
controversies begin to sprout up again. This time with a dub of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's a short scene, and I will play the original subtitle clip next to the dub. It speaks for itself.
Can you maximize the screen, please?
I can. It's a pain in the ass, but they can read it. I'm sure people can read it.
Just do it for the rest of the video. Don't leave it. Just do it one last time, and we'll minimize it.
Okay. They've read this one anyway, right?
Yeah, just carry on playing. We don't need to pause for this one.
What are you wearing that for? Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves. So I changed clothes. Give it a week, they'll be begging you to change back. Huh?
Very subtle indeed. Barely noticed them stealthily weave that message in there. Like honestly, who even talks like that outside of Tumblr? It's just so cringy.
That's what I mean. He's Tumblr. He's not saying...
He's using euphemisms again.
Yeah.
He's using euphemisms. He's saying Tumblr. Those losers at Tumblr. No, it's not Tumblr. It's feminists. And I'll tell you who speaks like this. Feminists. Feminists who do gender course studies in universities and control universities and shut down men's spaces and don't let men have their own groups in universities. That's who talks like that. And they're in corporations right now, like Funimation, Sony, Crunchyroll, whatever. They're all over the place.
You see, this is him trying to cope by saying this is just Tumblr. You see, Tumblr, they're just people that are powerless, but these people are not powerless at all. That's why things are getting done.
Yes.
And weird. The first time I saw this clip, I 100% believed it was a fan-dubbed parody. And because it was such a ham-fisted attempt to enter a message into their dub, people noticed very quickly and were once again asking Funimation to do their job the way it was supposed to be. Shortly after that, in its dub of My Girlfriend is a Gal, Funimation had one of its characters imitate Donald Trump while making a speech, which unsurprisingly was not in the original scene.
We'll be the #1 store in the franchise, in the entire industry, the best ever, so terrifically good, people. You know it, I know it. Together, we can make Tora no Ana great again.
Like, if that was included in the original subtitled version, cool, go ahead and poke fun at him. Remember, this is 2017, 1 year after he got elected. So imagine being that mad that you feel the need to join.
Go ahead.
I want to make an insight. There's that anime where the dubbers insert their own narrative about deadbeat dads. Yes. I've shown you the clip before. Can't remember the name of the anime, and it's been labeled. It's complete trash. It's not funny to me. Pay your child support. Take responsibility for your kids. It's just like a fucking deranged, self-loathing rant. It's not even funny in any sense of the word, right? And it's called the video title is the best anime dub ever, and also all the comments are supportive of it as well, talking about how great it is. Oh yeah. So the principle is not changing something, right? They're actually, because they say, because the anime is meant to be awful anyway. The original anime, the original Japanese version was meant to be boring, and the dub artists were saying, "Oh, this is so bad. You can do what you want, invent your own plot, basically." And everyone praises this, right? So the principle is not changing stuff. Actually, when you think about it, and the principle is they don't like what it's been changed to, and actually they should admit that, because that's actually the correct principle.
Yes.
Right. If you don't like what it's been changed to, admit it. This doesn't offend me so much because I don't think this is. You can take this as being pro-Trump or anti-Trump. It comes across as neutral. It's just a silly little thing they're interjecting. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the one thing I don't like about him bringing this up is that it's his effort into trying to making it about politics and not about feminism. It's about trying to make it gender neutral, and it isn't.
Yes. Trump's a male politician, of course.
Yes.
That into your dub. There was another line in the same series that was once again transformed, originally about criticizing light novel readers, changed by Funimation staff, referring to them as freaks who hate women seeking jailbait.
Pause.
Next up in 2000.
Exactly. Go ahead, it's paused.
That's a pedo smear, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
And they're talking about the average guy who watches anime. So that's all of you guys. That's all of us.
That's the equivalent of that's the equivalent of the pro-male collective somehow hijacked a romance novel company and started interjecting lines about women who like romance being scum and abusers. It's equivalent of that.
Exactly.
It's really nasty. So this is female social dominance at play. Infiltrate male spaces, belittle, attack, disparage, and marginalize the men who enjoy them.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've got to say, maybe I'm being nostalgic, but the anime has always had a higher ratio of females compared to other spaces, it had quite a high ratio of females in the early 2000s, right? Because it's always had a variety of stuff. So it was all had stuff that appealed to females. The females in the past were a lot better behaved than the ones now. I think the females in these spaces have gotten worse for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly. Clamp that made like Chobits and Cardcaptor Sakura, they just made anime that they liked, and all the male characters in their works were treated respectably.
Yes.
Respectfully, I should say. And so it just goes to show how bad it has fallen in the last 20 years.
Yes.
19 with their dub of Interview with Monster Girls, one of the characters was defending her friends from being bullied, and this was the response from the bully.
You're some kind of social justice warrior?
Also in 2019 with their dub for Yuno, a girl who chants love at the bound of this world, Funimation took liberties within the very first episode by changing the line, "How crude," to the very natural transition of, "You're such a misogynist." If you all remember from earlier this year,
So it's obvious feminist speak, and yet this guy can never say it.
Yes.
Funimation released a dub of the
feminist.
popular anime.
Sorry, about to say, the word misogynist is the N word. It's just as simple as that.
It is. It's just another form of the N word. Exactly.
Yes.
Viewers, I have made several videos about this myself, because after a few episodes, Funimation decided to pull the plug on the series and outright cancel the dub. The only reason they stated for this was that it fell out of their standards, despite the fact that other anime, like Arrow Manga Sensei, are still up and available for viewing to this day. And don't worry, the pandemic has not slowed them down. The subtitles for Love is War featured a reference to anti-coronavirus social distancing measures during one of its episodes, which, as you can guess, was not a part of the original dialogue. This would lead to another apology. In the most recent event to occur with Funimation, another...
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter. That is not the issue.
I do think that's actually a bad decision because it will date the anime.
Oh, well,
right? Yeah, but that's all it is. It's just a bad decision. So.
Yeah, it's not what this guy really has a problem with.
Yes.
Right.
The topic I covered previously was their announcement of an anime production committee in Japan that'll help moderate content more closely as it's delivered to Western audiences. And based on the past few minutes, you can guess as to why people would be uncomfortable with that idea. Now, that was a lot of talking about Funimation, and you probably get the point as to why. After Funimation was taken over by Sony, we saw more and more censorship and changing of content permitted or even encouraged under their watch. And with what seems like a sure sale at this point, the acquisition of Crunchyroll by Sony will certainly have an impact on anyone still trying to use that service. Besides even potential changes to its catalog of anime or pricing, the experience with Funimation shows that there's a strong possibility that we'll see more censorship and changing of content through Crunchyroll. But it will be certainly interesting to see where all this is heading. Or maybe it won't really matter because the majority of you probably pirate anime anyways. Nonetheless, that's...
I don't like this too because he's saying that, oh, you're pirating it. In other words, run away.
Yes.
Don't make a stand against what's happening to you.
Yes.
Pirate anime. It's just, and what happens? Basically saying for you to get content where you're respected, you have to become a criminal. That's
yes. Here's the thing: the feminists will get what they want. They'll get to spread their narrative in the mainstream and make it the norm. Calling men misogynists for no reason, right? Calling them lowly loving creeps, right, for no reason. Okay, that will be acceptable in mainstream.
Exactly. It's pretty well acceptable now anyway.
Yes, except it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to spread even. It's going to be and the KKK would love to have this kind of power. They would love to control this sort of company. You can imagine what they would get up to if they could do it. That's what the feminists are. They're an agenda KKK who get to play they get to play with what they want and do what they want with no restrictions. They're like a kid in a candy store, basically. No, they're like a bully in a candy store, picking on the other kids and snatching the candy out of their hands.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Going to do it for this video.
Feminists
are
powerful.
And I'll see you next
Let's finish this. Sorry, let's finish.
Yeah.
Oh, carry on.
time.
Okay, it is. There we go. Here, just a minute. I'm just going to shrink it up. I'm going to pause. Yeah, exactly. So, and you see that all the time. Like I said, these guys talking about censorship. So they're avoiding the issue. Now let me hide this for a minute.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yeah.
This is why I prefer to watch subs than dubs. Okay, see, that's another running away, you know.
Yes.
And he's talking about censorship instead of alteration, which is what it is.
Yes.
That's it.
And what's to stop these guys? Look, if Funimation is controlling the subs as well, what's to stop them translating the subs in the way they want to? You would have to literally you would have to go to fan subs. You would have to trust them.
Yes, exactly. Funimation has been a threat for years. They destroyed ANN. I don't know what that is, but
Anime News Network.
All right. This is not localized, it's personalized for the localizers so they can moralize on high ground. See, they're talking about moralization again.
Yeah, it's not moralizing. Look, everyone moralizes, right? If they believe their narrative is right, they'll promote it. That's moralizing.
Yeah.
What they're doing is promoting feminism.
Yes. And this is what the guys will never say. Oh
yes.
my God. This is why Chad's watch sub. Oh my God. Funimation was these are such lame ass comments. You know?
Funimation wasn't that the company that Vic worked for?
Yes, I think he did.
And I know, and basically he got falsely accused of being too clingy, and a lot of the female voice actors jumped in to accuse him as well, like the one who voiced Rei Ayanami. So
yeah, I know what
yes,
I'm trying to remember their names, but
yeah. Look, that voice actor, I actually defended her years ago. She was getting bullied in an Evangelion forum. She came in to say hi, and they were just attacking her because they thought people did the dubs were trash. Right, and I felt really sorry for her, but she actually deserved to get bullied. She was a nasty person, the way she's treating Vic. And the thing is, Vic didn't do anything to her, and she just jumped on because he saw he was getting dogpiled, like sharks smelling blood and prey. It's just there's no morality there. It's just amoral ruthlessness, bullying.
Well, I just mean this guy is when he says Chad, he's basically saying the soy boys. In other words, he's bragged, blame shifting again. Like, let's say, political agenda, before Funny Anime quote, after Funimation alters it, political agenda. Yeah, feminism.
Yes. Political agenda is a euphemism. What's the political agenda?
Yeah, exactly. They can't even say it.
Yes.
And this guy, this is why I am a pirate. This is why everyone should be a pirate. Again, he's running away.
Yes.
Like, you're being disrespected to your face publicly. Well, just live your life underground. It's so pathetic.
Go to Rudy's comment. It's right at the bottom. You can see it. I want to read.
Okay, let's see. Is it?
That's the one. I use anime to escape the real world, not to be roped back into its crappy problems. That's the problem. You're not dealing with the problems. Right? If females take over the real world, they're going to control the entertainment industry, aren't they? What do you expect?
Yes. Thanks, Runda, I guess is how you say his name.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this was.
It applies eye. Looks like you left me no choice. Applies eye patch. He's becoming a pirate.
Yes, that's it. Okay, yes. Oh my God. You're running away, in other words. You're hiding.
Yeah.
You can't, the bullies are stronger than you, so you're just going to skulk around. This guy is actually for children, what a load of crap. Well, he's right about that in that way, but he doesn't explain how.
This is like paint a picture, but then someone draws all over it. It's not just that. They're changing the political message of the picture. Just say that. No one said the F word so far.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see.
All right, this is bad. Imagine being underpaid to translate things. Deflection, underpaid. They're trying to blame the amount of pay they get. I'm sorry. These cushy women in these jobs, they're not underpaid. I'm sorry. So this is bad. Imagine being underpaid to translate things just for your work to be ripped apart, and some big ass company that just puts another message about feminism. Oh, he used the F word. Thank you.
He did it.
So
Thank you.
they can market it to 1% more people and remove the interest of 99%. Totally disregarding what you did. Okay, you sort of make a point, but it's not about the people being underpaid to translate things. Let's just focus on the fact the feminists are putting their own narrative in.
The people translating are the feminists. So I mean,
Yes.
again, it's the same old deflection. You know, it's like the corporations are these big guys, and because they're big and powerful, and we're jealous of the money they have and the power,
Yes.
we'll blame them for it. But it's really these guys are just giving the feminists that are working for them carte
Yes.
blanche to put whatever they like in. You know,
Yes.
what's going on. So ordinary Doc, you started off decent, but you failed.
Yeah. I think we've proven that they're hopeless, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are known
And
for freedom of speech. In other words, none of these freedom of speech assholes. Sorry,
yes.
I shouldn't call you a name, but I mean, geez, that's pathetic.
Yes. Yeah. Look, we've talked about this before, and we keep on getting proven right. Right? Go woke, go broke's not happening. It's not. It's not changing anything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the ones the women the feminists that are changing these, they're getting paid.
Yes.
They're getting paid. And if what happens is when things go tits up, they go somewhere else and find work somewhere else and continue.
And they destroy that company. They destroy it. They don't
exactly.
care.
Exactly. There's
Yes.
no consequences for them, ordinary Doc and Rub Show. Sorry for
Yes.
calling you an asshole, by the way. Yeah, you don't deserve that. Okay. I think we've said everything we need to say here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Rising. Yeah, this is just amazing in a bad way.
Yes.
Thank you for everything. Bye, sir.